Call to order the joint board meeting for Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority, Central Valley Fire and Rescue, and Western Lane Ambulance District. Will you rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Bethany Farr will be directors. Tim Mandolia. Lori Heppel.
Here.
Keith Stanton.
Here.
Jim Polisi.
Here.
And David Carrillo.
Here.
Western Lane and WLFEA directors, Cindy Russell.
Here.
Linda Stint.
Here.
Adam Holbrook.
Here.
Vanessa Buss.
Here.
And Mike Webb.
Here. Okay, we have forums for all three agency entities. Public comment, any public comments? None received. Consent agenda, is there anything in the consent agenda that a director would like to pull out for discussion? Hearing none, consent agenda is adopted. And I asked Melissa House to give us an update on her Walter program. Oh, yes.
It's a favorite thing to do.
All right, thanks everybody for letting me give you an update. In the last 3 months, we have had a total of 144 calls. We've been able to prevent 60 people from being seen in the ER, and we've diverted EMS or law enforcement from 116 of those calls. Our call volume is actually down pretty low right now, but that happens generally in the summer. Now that the colder months are starting to come in, we'll see more mental health issues, homeless issues, elderly challenges, and people just start passing away more frequently. So we'll be responding to those. And we continue to have staffing shortages. We lose a couple people, but then we hire a couple people. I don't think that's ever going to change. We'll always have that problem. State regulations, now that we are our own mobile crisis entity, but we're still subcontracted under the county is still required to pass through funds to us from Oregon Health Authority. But we do have to meet certain regulations, especially starting January 1st, 2025. And that's going to be having the 2-person in-person response with a qualified mental health associate and a peer support person on that call. And we have to have some oversight by either a licensed clinical social worker or a qualified mental health professional, which we've been able to retain one LPSW and one QMHP. So we're completely compliant as of right now, and our coverage is perfect. We have double coverage last month, this month, and looking at next month as well. So even though we are a little bit low on staff and our team is working extra, we're meeting compliance quite well.
Question, do they provide enough budgeted funds to cover that staffing level?
For that.
Sure.
Yeah, the county gave us a contract through the end of the year. Finally, we just got that about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, but it covers what we need for the part-time crisis response of the core of our program. Lane County will cover that, but we still have the full-time client advocates, the youth client advocate, which are paid out of the SAMHSA grant and the VWA grant. And then we did get some extra funding from Peace Health because the county is actually behind in paying their invoices to us. And we weren't sure if we were going to be able to continue being funded through them. So Peace Health stepped up quite a bit and gave us a grant for a total of $250,000. But they'll give it to us in 3 installments, so $80,000 per installment if we need it to supplement whatever the county doesn't pay for. And so we're doing pretty well financially right now for the program. And then some of the other things we're working on that's a mandatory requirement is Medicaid billing. We have to start doing that by January 1st. And that comes with having a whole new reporting software. So we're switching from Elite Image Trend to Qualifax. And Cindy and I have been working on that. We're looking at going live with our new reports mid-November. And then in line to bill Medicaid starting January
Does it
1st.
bill Medicaid directly, or does it go through?
So we're gonna be billing Medicaid, the county wants us to do it through. Qualifax will handle the whole thing for us, but it'll be $0 billing, so they're just basically gonna be collecting the information. And that goes to the CCOs, and then the county still gives us our portion of the funding for CCOs. That's how I understand it anyway. As of September 30th, we've officially completed our first year of the SAMHSA grant. Pretty excited about that, only 3 years of that grant left to go. And that grant just allows us to have a full-time client advocates and the outreach program. We're short-staffed on there, but it allows us to do a lot of community presentations and get out and engage more with the community as well. And then I've already talked to you guys about the Lake County grant and the self-funding, so any questions?
I have a couple questions. Are you still going out and doing presentations?
We are, yeah.
What organizations have you been to?
Recently? Or last one, well, we did the every 15 minutes at the schools. That took up quite a bit of time. We've been to the Lions Club. Some of the veteran groups like Cooties, we went to talk to them.
A couple of presentations I went to, y'all were talking about trying to get your own foundation going.
Yeah, we have Western Lake Crisis Association, which was created to supplement and help with long-term sustainability for our program.
Does Christine have that?
Yeah, well, Christine down up front.
Yeah.
No, I have those. And Cindy has them. Not with me. I would be happy to get you one. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys for your time.
Just a comment for everybody, that every 15 minutes was really, it seemed like it really went well, it was very impressive, and it seemed like a really big success from everybody's standpoint. From your standpoint, from the fire and that's, I thought it was done well.
I
Absolutely.
wanted to tell you a story to make you appreciate how well it went. When I lived in Texas, now in Austin, of course, it's a big city and lots of schools, and so they're off doing their thing. Well, I'm in a little town of about 198 people outside of town, so we're doing one. It was the responsibility of the school to notify the parents that this drill was going to happen. They didn't.
Yeah.
And everybody in this town has a scan. So all of a sudden they're hearing star flight, the helicopters coming, and the fire trucks and ambulances. And then you look and there's this wave of frantic parents. And we didn't have a police force, we had a constable, one guy. We're like, okay, Billy. Try to control everything. It worked, I mean, the idea of a drill worked really well, but it's a lot more chaotic.
It does work. We did it, we went out with law enforcement and did the next best notifications to the parents, even though they were warned before it was coming, that it was still emotional for them and hard to get. There were a lot of tears, so it definitely made a big impact on not just the kids, but the parents too.
I had to do my daughter's obituary, or eulogy, because she was one of them when she graduated high school. She was one of them taken, that died in Iraq or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they had a funeral ceremony for all of them, and I had to do her obituary. I still cry when I read it.
I do. The assembly went really well too. We actually had quite a few students that were so impacted, they were running out of that assembly crying. That's why I stood at the doors, just so I could gather the kids as they ran out to support them.
I media blasted it back to the Bay Area. So it'd be interesting to see how many hits it's getting.
Yeah,
It was well done, well done.
yeah, they did a really
Even the segment of going into trauma, you know, that whole thing with all the ER staff and they're ready, you know, taking over. I was like, wow, what a production.
East Harper really went to town with it too.
Yeah, it sure did.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, you guys have a really good night. Thanks for your time.
Okay. We will have a presentation from Buckeye. If Brenda shows up, but
Yeah, something may happen on.
if not, we'll reschedule. I think a lot of you remember her from a couple years ago. We had her come in a couple of times, but hopefully we'll figure it out. And we'll reschedule, or if she comes in, we'll put her in this. On the agenda.
Traffic back up at Walton.
What's that?
There's a big traffic back up at Walton.
Is that because of the oils?
No, this is something new today. That mile marker 32, which is
Hmm.
where the dump is there.
Mhm.
And they said it was a big double track, trailer truck, so it's holding up traffic.
Yeah, that's probably where she is.
How did they, how bad was the oil slick inside that tunnel?
There was none in the tunnel.
Oh, it was not
It was out, yeah, it was this side, it was
the
the,
way that they were saying it on the news that the engine let go in the tunnel.
no,
It might have, most of the oil was outside.
yeah.
On the west side.
Yeah, it was clear to time.
It was where?
It was clear to time. Just said it.
Cause I sat in that tunnel for a while with that wreck.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
Financials.
So for SVFR, we've had no major expenditures. Western Lane Ambulance, there's a couple things to report. One of the items under income, if you look on page 23 of your packet, there was a deposit into grants for $82,083.33. This was actually the police health grant for Wilbur. They deposited it into the incorrect account. We have notified them in writing to change the accounts, and then we transferred it out through our normal transfer process. There was a ventilator purchase, but I think we addressed that last month. Other than that, there's no other major purchases under Western Lane Ambulance District. For WLFEA, we are still waiting on configuration dollars for the Battle Mountain complex. And then under expenses, most of our budget should be at 25%. And for WLFEA, for personnel, you're gonna see it's kind of low. Part of that is due to us moving from accrual to cash basis. That's pretty much all I have unless you have questions on the budget. Or any of the finances. And then just to let you know, we're gonna start cutting checks weekly. Some of the packets are getting pretty large and time consuming, so weekly we'll have fewer checks to sign, plus hand cramps. The other thing to let you know about is we did get a dividend check from SAFE. Our dividend was 9.79%. It totaled $11,583. It's kind of nice. And then the only other thing I had is I need to know from you guys, who will definitely not be going to the SDAO conference. If you guys know that, we will not be going. Anybody else?
What is it?
When it's, yeah, it's in February. No, it's in February.
Okay.
Oh, it's not the Sun River one.
Not the Sun River one, the SDAO one. We currently have 10 rooms on hold. I just don't wanna pay for 10 rooms, so.
That's through the.
It's the 58th of February.
February
I will not.
Trish, I'll not be able to go that.
You will?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I should be, I'm hoping I can go to that one too.
okay, so I'll cancel room for Linda and
You
Jim.
can write your schedule so you can go.
I know.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Any questions on the financials?
Oh, I forgot to announce too, we finished the audit. Auditors have come and gone.
They gave us an overview. We had made significant progress, the third thing. There still will be a couple of items, reported, and a lot of them are due to us not being cash basis yet. So we'll see a lot of those corrections for the next audit.
Thank you. So old business, we have, those four policies. Were there any suggestions, comments on policies?
Yeah, on 315, I have one.
Yep.
Where it says that the, where is it?
That was a while. And
Yeah. 315.3.
Yep.
Where it says whenever a wildland fire event occurs in the jurisdiction of Western Maine Fire and EMS Authority, it's a responsibility of the IC to assess potential for the fire to extend into either SRA or FRA. I just want to make a suggestion that should we have a structure fire, that if it's a threat to SRA or FRA, just because it's not into the wildland, we should notify them saying, we have a structure fire that's threatening the lands.
yeah, we do that. It's not written down here, but yeah, ODF pretty much gets notified automatically.
Is it by Westcom they get notified immediately, or do
Yes,
they just
well,
monitor?
that means we will ask for ODF to be notified. A lot of times Westcom will just go ahead and do that. It pretty much during the summer months, during the burn, when it's an active fire season. We almost always either ask for ODF or Westcom has already done that.
Because we built it into our CAD back there, that if we did have a structure fire that's a threat to the vegetation for the SRA, they were automatically notified.
Yeah, I think it's,
They have our radio frequency.
Oh, they do?
They scan us when they're on duty, and typically they at least drive by and see.
yeah, but they're not, so, I mean, it's not, they would have to be listening. I think, I don't, it's not bad.
So they're not a 24-hour operation,
During the summer they are.
ODF,
No, they're not.
interesting.
Not here,
During the summer.
10 to 8, something like that.
So those guys at the station. Are down.
If we can get a hold of their dispatch, we'll get a hold of them, relatively small. But. They're not.
And is that the same with the feds as well, right? US Forest Service? What, I'm sorry.
I haven't seen a Fed fire crew here
Never. Not on wood. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, that'd be a county, like Forest Service, that would be a county response until. The state made a decision to go federal.
But we do have FRA within the district.
Forest Service, yeah.
Right. So does ODF then notify FRA for the feds, US Forest Service, or do we notify them?
I think it would be the state. That'll find them.
But if it's not threatening state lands, why would the state get involved in the feds?
Oh, because the state would be, they'd be setting up instant, it'd be through the state fire marshal.
I
It'd be-
understand.
They take over the role of instant
I
command.
understand if it's a working fire. I'm saying that if we have a structure fire, that's the threat to the federal lands. The state's not gonna notify the feds. We have to notify the feds,
Right, we'd
correct?
go through Westcom and say notify the Forest Service.
Because I would hate to see them turn around and say, well, they didn't notify us. When in fact, if we build it into the dispatch and it's a confirmed structure fire, that's an immediate threat to state land or federal land. Should be our responsibility, even though it hasn't extended, it's a threat. Because 2 cities got sued in California for not notifying,
Yeah,
and I'd hate to see that happen to us.
but like
Failure.
Jay was saying, I don't think that we're gonna get a response from them.
Well, at least we notify them, so if something did happen, then it's on them, not us.
I think as the incident expanded, they would be part of that, but yeah. That's a good point. Any other comments? Awesome. Got some new policies to review. Those four. And then we added to the agenda, there's a supplemental budget request. It's the resolution.
Right here. Oh,
Yes, you guys have it.
For Vanessa.
No, that one.
Oh, we all got one?
Yeah, it wasn't in your packet.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So just to let you know, so with all the, when we did the budget with Wilbur, all of the grant funds being rolled over, being received, it was all kind of up in the air. And we kind of guessed at what was going to happen. Now with the peace, health money, and we kind of have a better idea of the funds that, are being rolled over and, coming in. We've actually typed them down. So you'll see the spreadsheet is what was budgeted. What's changing, if you want the detail. The overview is in the resolution. But we'll need to do a supplemental budget just to cover their expenses.
did that make sense?
It's grant money that they got that we didn't know.
Exactly.
And all this money goes directly to WLFEA and then passes through SVFR or Western Lake. It goes to WLFEA account.
The,
Yes,
So it's a pure WLFEA.
yeah, this is a welfare
Yeah.
resolution. So we need a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'm supposed to sign this.
you're supposed to sign it.
Yeah, Vanessa, yeah.
So I still need a motion. Okay. A motion made by Director Stentz. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Director Russell. Is there any discussion? Again, it's just some extra grant funds.
Just one point of order, it'd be nice if it wasn't in red, that makes it look like a deficit.
Yeah.
It does.
The changes, those are the changes. Like what everybody we didn't have.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? So all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? You guys want to sign this? Thank you. Director comments. Do you have any director comments?
It's right here.
Director,
I was at the overall meeting last month. I noticed on the minutes that there was something about a grant to change from a .org to a .gov,
for us,
$56,000. And on the board, we have noticed after my name, there's the letter CCP. Stands for Certified Computer Professional. I didn't hear anything about this. Probably would have been perfect, at least try some discussion. So I'm having a hard time understanding how $56,000, when typically I have changed domain names in under an hour. And I currently have a website that is about the same as what WLFEA has. And it cost me about $50 a month, both the domain name and the hosting. Very simple, very straightforward. So I'm having a hard time understanding this high cost. And since I am partially on this board to make sure that funds do get that properly directed. I'm questioning what that is. Now, of course, this is just a direct comment. We can't go into a discussion right now. But I'd certainly like to further understand how $56,000 for something that is a 1 hour job.
Who made the change? Who's trying to make the change?
we got a grant to do that.
Yeah, it's my understanding it's a grant, so
Yeah.
it's money that we specifically got to do this work, so it's not money out of our budget.
If we ever
Yes, received it, it says specifically a grant money.
Right, it was one of the quotes, and we have 3, by the way, and it was just a quote to fill in for the grant, to apply for the grant.
Okay,
And it includes the service as well as
transferring all of our pages to the .gov.
Yeah, that's just a matter of an hour kind of thing, so where is it costing $56,000? That's I'm having a hard time understanding that.
So that is the company's quote, yeah, and I would imagine that when you get a quote, if you get a grant and you get a quote, that's what you have to submit, so I don't think it's necessarily our leadership that would say, hey, it's $56,000, but coming from a nonprofit, when I have to get quotes, I have to submit those quotes to a grantor, right? And they go in, so I would imagine there's more to a .gov than there's regular .com.
Not really,
else.
although I'm glad to see that finally moving over to .gov, which should have been from the beginning, because there's much greater security there, and the domain name is typically free. So you have to do just some
So
websites.
the low quote was 7,000, so, which we received after submitting the grant, but. And then the second quote was in the middle, between 7 and 50.
To move it over or to have it.
To move the website over, all of the pages over into the .gov. And it would be underneath whatever programming that entity does, utilizes.
Because now it's just a matter of readjusting the point and expression files, just have to keep them over and that's it. So. I'm trying to, like I said, you're a professional, many decades, to understand how this price came up. Anyways, this is directed comments, we really can't begin with discussions, but perhaps future. When there are issues pertaining to computers or any other topic. The available expertise that's on board might be approached.
Sure.
Agree. It will bring down a lot of the costs.
Again, this is the grant, it's not a cost to.
Well, this particular one, you're going out for a grant, I mean, some taxpayers pay them. So we have a certain responsibility, even though it may not be from our directly. When it comes to this kind of funding. Plus, by approaching those who have the expertise, we should end up with a better quality in the end result.
Approved of the grant.
Yeah, so this was discussed at the previous board meeting, that it was approved by the board to submit the grant.
Yes, that's what I said last meeting, I was attending LCOG, it's my responsibility to this board. And that's where this was discussed.
I think before, I mean, it's. Board has to approve a submission of grants. Was last meeting, okay, it wasn't the last meeting.
Last week, so like I said, I went through the minutes and went, oh, what's this? How come this is the first I'm hearing about it?
Well, she asked to move it into the application process at that meeting,
Yeah, so I mean, it was discussed at the board meeting.
just move it into the process.
But as there was something dealing with firefighting, I would expect. Director right here, to be addressed.
You're right.
That one, it's like, hey, you got the expertise on this. When it comes to automation. My probably has a higher expertise and at least some input and assisted. in the
So what I
process.
understand is where we are in the process is that we approved our personnel to apply for the grant. And then we wait to see if we get the grant. And then we will decide, what is the best way to go to spend it, is that correct?
Yeah, it's only been submitted, we haven't been awarded.
Yeah, so we've only asked for the money, it's not that we've agreed that we're gonna be spending X number of dollars on it, or what company we're going with, or what path we're taking to achieve the end result. So we're just at the point of like making the budget for it. So then if we get 66,000, so we know we have that much to work with, doesn't mean we have to spend it all. Is that correct? Okay. Just so I know the process, right?
One going in for.
So then your expertise would come in when they did go for bids or for an avenue of how to achieve this end goal.
Well, I even think it's a step before, so when they presented it to us last month, there's our opportunity for Jim or myself to speak up and say, hey, I would love to be a part of that conversation, that application, to provide some input on that. So I think that's where the appropriate spot would be, not on the back end of it. And they did present it to us, we had the opportunity to share right? Our feedback, if it was Jim who had expertise, we should have said, hey, Trish, Chief, I'd like to be a part of that. So I think that's the opportunity. They didn't present it that way. They hadn't submitted it. They haven't moved, she was in the process of that. So I think that the pathway in which it was presented to us as a board was appropriate for those of us that may have had some input too. So,
Some lead time would have been also possible, but just say, hey, we're gonna be discussing this. And get ready for it. In addition, we're talking. To completely reprogram the website is probably weekend work. On weekend, and 56,000, wait a minute, let's hear. If you're trying to submit. For something, you say, well, really, the cost is only $20,000, so more likely to get that grant than if you come and say, oh, we need 100,000. So being realistic as to what's there to grant, you went out and got some bids, but everybody knows how. Government throws money, so why not put a big number? Like I said, it's probably program on the weekend. Getting fresh, so. Like I said, hard time putting my head around it. Sure. So perhaps already, as the process proceeds for future things, when we use, like I said, expertise on the board. For whatever it is. Be notified ahead, especially if like myself, I have other obligations to this board that you live from the meeting. And say, hey, we're thinking about this, let's talk about it, let's get some ideas going. We're going to be presenting it at the next meeting for some decision. Thank you.
Director comments?
Yeah, I do. Excuse me, I shouldn't say it like that. The fire chief sent out a very interesting, I'm gonna call it statewide staff. I guess would be a good way to, it's a summary and solutions about what's attacking, and yes, everybody had a chance to read it. I think it was well done. And Chief, I think we should jump on this. Because if we look at a workshop, board workshop, they've identified so many. I don't want to call them deficiencies, but this is basically a SWOT. And what the threats are and what's hampering the all-risk emergency services for the state of Oregon. And when you look at that map, that really shocked me. The amount of people that there are in Oregon. You look at the lack of emergency resources. It's scary. It's frightening. And the lack of recruitment, retention, what are we gonna do? Well, we all know it stems from what? Dollars, right? And reading up about the grant monies that are just quote earmarked for wildland only. I think after this election, national and state election, we need to get our local legislators involved because we're the last fire district in Lane County. This is it, it stops. The fire and EMS delivery service, the ASAs and our fire protection districts and city, everything. Maybe it's time that the state look at going to a boundary drop. Basically, regardless what county, because everything is kind of spread out. And being the last career reserve emergency services in this county, who's to the southwest? It's in Douglas County, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So getting the legislators involved, there needs to be earmarked, I'll call it what it is, and that is augmentation fund. That the state needs to, I'm not bashing everybody in the state, but they're 30 years behind emergency services. I mean, the professionals that are sitting right there that do this, yeah, they're up to speed. But the state hasn't caught up to the needs. So if you did a needs assessment, there's money being spent that while it may seem important, and it is, public safety is taking a backseat. And we are really playing Russian roulette. We can't handle a major incident on this side, knowing that we're landlocked to the north, south, and that tunnel. Something happens, we are in basically John Wayne mode. You know, that's how it's gonna be. So I recommend that we get a workshop together after this election, first of the year, and we get our state and federal representatives to come down. And we invite our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the south. And we all sit down and express to them, let's start earmarking money. It's not gonna happen overnight, I get that. But the recruitment and retention. Recruitment stems from what? Where are we gonna get this workforce? How are we gonna train them? The retention is what are we paying? Compensation's gotta be there. Are there perks that we can do on top of it to retain those people? It's not an easy answer, and I hate to say it'd be like throwing darts at a dartboard, but that's kind of what it's becoming. And we all know that 85% of the calls for service are EMS based, whether it be a sick call, vehicle accident, whatever. Yeah, we do get fires. And that takes time too, and that strips resources. So. And we still haven't heard anything from Swiss Home Debit, have we? Well, they need to be brought up to speed, and maybe it's time that LAFCO get involved. And say, you are not sufficient enough to maintain your own service level. And then LAFCO needs to. I really hope this doesn't turn out to be a calamity and there's a bunch of finger pointing. But that may happen. So I would rather see us as board directors be proactive, be ahead of this thing.
I agree with you 99.9% of what you said. I think I've seen some action from the state. You look at the state engine program.
Right, which is fine.
Which is a good start, but it
That's
just,
a great start, but it's all wildland based.
oh yeah, and then the summer staffing for wildland.
Mhm.
So there's some activity at the state, but yeah, it's definitely wildland influenced or biased.
Do we know if the state's gonna offer up money again for seasonal staff for us?
I am pretty sure they will. It has not been officially announced, but they know how successful the program has been.
And is there a start date and sunset date, or do they give us like 6 months funding for 9 positions?
It's just, I think it's up to 2 positions and it's like May through September.
See, that's not enough. That's, to me, that's ridiculous.
It's a wildland influence.
It's I understand it, but it's still insulting.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get those people hurt, not you personally, chief. But you're gonna get those people hurt if you don't have the proper staffing. I just heard tonight, ODF doesn't work 24/7. Feds, God knows where they're at. We don't have any BLM land where there's BLM resources immediately available. So where's it gonna come from?
Oh,
It's gonna come from here, which means that it's gonna reduce our service levels to the taxpayers. And that's not right. So
yeah, our mutual aid is.
if we need to kick and scream a little, so be it. But I'd rather do it this way than a 60 minutes news team, sticking a mic in the face.
Yeah. No, I heard.
So can we get a workshop scheduled for some time? After the election and we go through this?
We can try getting
Invite
legislative
staff.
people here. Is always tough.
I understand.
I know Boomer is always saying that he will come and talk to his boomerang.
Well, they're all running on the platform of public safety, so here's a good chance
Yeah,
to
during
step up.
election season, yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah, so you know what I'm saying, they're all running on it. It's in print. So I would, because we are understaffed.
And I think
There's
this
no
is,
doubt in my
I
mind.
think this is what.
That's a great,
Yeah,
that is a great report.
think
I read
that's-
that twice, cover to cover.
And I think the outcome, I think they give you an executive summary or they tell you what needs to be done. And
And they're right, and those are some talented people that made the comments in there, I recognize a couple of the names and.
right,
But yeah, I mean, if you look at our staffing level, and if we wanna improve our ISO, we need people. We have the training, got a great training program, so that's plus on ISO. We have the comms, that's a plus. We have good water systems. We do carry a lot of water to the fire on our apparatus, that's a plus, but we need the bodies.
yes,
And you know, we may hear, where are we gonna put all the people and this and that, and so on and so forth. Look, I'd rather have the people and find a place to put them.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, building an infrastructure, and not getting the people. So I would really like to see, and this is just me, I'm not speaking for the remainder of the board, just me. I would like to see 4 more people per shift. I think that would be good.
for that eventual fire, absolutely.
You bet, because we don't have the ability for Rick. I don't want to see any of those people get injured or worse. And then maybe we should also take it one step further. Maybe it's time to implement a residential sprinkler ordinance. If we're not gonna get the bodies, we gotta mitigate the problem.
Mhm.
So if we get residential sprinkler systems in an ordinance, not retroactive, but new construction and remodels greater than 50% of the footprint of the structure, that will help us.
Yeah.
It's easier to clean up one sprinkler head dumping 15 gallons of water per minute in a single family dwelling than it is doing mop up on a foundation. Right? I'm curious, the recent incidents that have happened in Mapleton, were those single family dwellings that burned to the ground, or were they trailers?
Last one was a single family dwelling.
And how many personnel did Mapleton have on scene?
2 to 3.
2 to 3, and the rest of it came from here, right? So I'd also like to see us do a spreadsheet for the past 24 months. How many calls did our personnel and our tax dollars go to help outside?
Mhm.
With the exception of the ASA, that's a given. You know, medical aids, vehicle accidents, you know, yeah, we gotta send people on those.
Sure.
And I like your concept, what you're doing now about the chase car and 2 people on the patrol. I think that's great, that's smart. That's utilizing equipment
Right.
and giving our people the chance to do things. So, look, I don't wanna beat this to death, but I'd really like to jump on this.
Yeah.
And get going.
We can absolutely try.
And I think Director Heppel would agree.
Maybe you guys could work with chief to do,
What's that?
maybe you guys could meet with chief and get some of that going.
Yeah, I'll sit down.
I'll leave it all to chief.
No, absolutely.
Okay, that's all I had to say, but thank you for sending that. I really liked it.
No, I liked it. I thought it'd be helpful for the board members.
And I have heard some rumors from my former coworkers back in California from Cal Fire that Oregon is really starting to look at the California model a little bit closer. I think that has to do with their resources. You know, and just so you know, Cal Fire will launch their Air Force into Southern Oregon. If it's a threat to California SRA, they have no problem launching the Big Red Army and their aircraft.
Well, yeah, because they don't want to come down on them.
No, they don't.
I can see where we-
And they're
Okay.
putting C-130s now in service. They're gonna have 5 in service. So you're gonna get an air attack, 2 S-2s, the C-130s, and the new Firehawks. It's an Air Force.
Yeah,
It's massive.
bigger than most. Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Good points. Other director comments? Our next joint board meeting is Thursday, November 21st. That's the normal, is that the normal Thursday or is it the third?
No, that's
Third.
the Thanksgiving Thursday thing, right?
No, Thanksgiving is
We're
on
a week before-
Friday.
a week before, so we moved it up a week.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Thanksgiving's on the 28th.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Which is the fourth Thursday.
7 days, 21.
Oh, well, no, I had it backwards. I'm sorry.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second? Second, all in favor? Aye. This is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.